Right, welcome guys, and this is Mr. Ndabezita. Well, I thought to myself, okay, let us go back to the previous tutorial that we have been working on, where we created the addition of the two objects that we had. And from there are just a few things that I wanted us to look at. Now first, remember in this tutorial we created an overloading operator which was denoted by the reserved keyword operator and an addition sign in front of it. This was all the coding was about. Now, however, there are some few things that I want us to concentrate on here, just to brief them up before we can start working on something else. Now, I want us to check here. Now, what is this? This public static book. It's the overloading operator. We have it there. We know that this is the object, so it will accept two arguments as object. It will be a book, and it will be the first object of the book and the second object of the book if I create two objects. All right, and then we declared and explained everything that is happening here, right? So this, what it will return, it will return a new book, which is a new title. The new book has a new title, a new number of pages, and a new price, which they have been calculated and assigned up there. Then it will return that, right? That it's fine. So when it comes to the return, when we run this code and we see those values, this is what runs this operator, the overloading operator that we have. That's the one that will be running and displaying the new title, the new page, and the new price of this book. All right, the rest of the things we know them. So when we come here, I have two objects which I have defined. So where am I now? Where am I now? I am in here. This operator accepts two objects. Here they are. And these two objects, we now have a new price for the first book, and the second book we have the new number of pages for the first book and the second book, and so on. And we have some tests that are running inside of here. So when I come here and I create the first object, the second object, this object, book one, remember I can create as many objects as I want. Book one will have these three arguments. It will be a string, an int, and a double. So when I create that book, this one, we are here, it will have the title, the page, and the book, because this is the object of the class. This is just a constructor that I have. So the constructor of this class will be initialized with those three values. Okay, that is fine, nothing new. Now this one, the public static, which accepts a book, it accepts an object. It accepts those two objects that you have created, book one and book two. All right, so it accepts those two objects and it does some validations in here. The first thing it do, we have a constant, this cannot change. It's an extra that is added to the price of every book, and then the calculations are the way in which we have explained. Now it's public static and it returns an object. This is very, very important. It returns an object, hence we have the return statement here. It accepts an object, so it will return a new what now? An object. The new keyword reserves memory for us, and the new book, the book that it returns, it has a new title, a new number of pages, and a new price. Very important that we note these things, right? And then this will run, and whatever that needs to happen will transpire on this side. Okay, now what I wanted us to look at now is the following. Now what we want to do, we just want to do something. Now I want us to now look at the iComparable interface. This is something that I wanted us to look at, the iComparable interface. So let me just come here. Let me just come here. Let's just say add new item. Let's just cancel all this program. Let's just close this. Okay, let me just say add new item, and let's just call this class. It will be an employee class. So let me just call this. Okay, let me just insert the keyboard so that we can work on this. All right, let me just do this. So okay, so we have a class and we will call this the employee. That's fine. And then it will create the class for us. This is what we have. Everything that is here, we are familiar with it. Now what we want to do from here, first of all, it is important that we understand a few things. Very important that we understand a few things, right? The first thing we read that C# contains an iComparable interface which contains the definition for the compare_to method that compares one object to another and returns an integer. That's exactly how the iComparable interface works. Now remember, if it returns a positive, the first object is bigger than the second object. If it returns 0, they are equivalent, and if it returns a negative, the second object is bigger than the first object in terms of returning an object, but it will return an integer. I'm just saying this in terms of the object comparison between the two objects. All right, but if it is integers, then we know that it will compare one integer with another, and then if they are objects, one object with one object, and then it will return an int. We know that. That's fine. Okay, so that is fine. The compare_to method accepts a parameter object but does not contain any statements. You must provide an implementation for this method in the classes you create if you want the objects to be compared. In other words, you must determine the meaning of the greater than, the less than, and the equal for the class. And I think this is exactly what we will try to do. So that is fine. We have a class, and this class is the employee, and the employee we will use inheritance, and inheritance is shown by those two columns, and I will say iComparable. There it is. So we have read about this. They said that the C# contains an iComparable interface. It's an interface which contains the definition for the compare_to method that compares one object to another and returns an integer. Very important. Okay, so let me just end. What is happening here? Let me just check this. Guys, I have created a class, and this is employee. Okay, and in this class, okay, that is fine, okay, let's just leave that as it is. So inside of this class, I just want to have a public, sorry, okay, and the class and the namespace. Okay, now what I want to do inside of this class is just to have some few properties. So it will be public, it will be of type int, and I will call this the ID number, and I will create automatic properties. Very good. And then secondly, I will have another one which is also public. They always have to be public, and this one will be the salary, and we will have the get and the set. Okay, nothing mysterious with this. So public, it will be of type double, and this is what we have. Okay, that is fine. Now let's try to continue with this. Now what I want to do while I'm inside of this class is to have an int I comparable. Okay, and then I want to use the dot, and the dot will do what now? It will compare to. This is exactly what I want. Now it will compare an object, so I am accepting an object and I'm just calling this object object O. So remember the compare to method from the previous tutorial. Let me just read it very quickly for you. The compare to method also compares two strings, but we are comparing objects in this case. However, one string is used before the dot and the method name, and the second string is placed within the method parentheses. Right. So I have an int comparable dot. So we are saying one string is used, so one object is used in this case before the dot and the method name, and the second string is placed, the second object is placed within the method parentheses as an argument. Very important, very, very important. This is how the compare to method works. Right, so it will accept an object. The first object here it is, and then it compares to the second object that it will accept inside of these curved brackets. Okay, that is fine, nothing mysterious about this. Right, let me go a little bit higher. Now when we are here, the very first thing that I want to do, I just want to have a variable which I will call int, and this will be return just a value. All right, so I'm going to assign it. So I want to take an employee class, and I want to assign a temporary variable to that, which I will call the temp, and that temp will be equals to the employee. Oh, very good. So this will be the employee, and this employee, this O will reference to that. Very important. So I will take, I'm just declaring a variable there of type int. It's return value, because I know that it will always return an int, because the compare to method returns an integer. So I am taking the object and I'm assigning a temporary variable to that equals the object O. But you must have these brackets, employee, and then your O outside. Very important. Now I want to run some tests. If the this dot ID number, which is the property that I have, if that it's bigger than the temp dot ID number, if that is true, and let me just hover over this temp, there it is. Now I'm saying if the this.id number, I know that the this will refer to that is fine. If this it's greater than the object, so what are we saying here? We are saying, okay, we have int return value, that's just a variable that I have declared of type int, and I'm taking the employee and I'm saying if the object, I'm taking the object that I will create, right? And then I'm saying the object temp is equals to the employee object O. Okay, that's fine. So what am I saying here? I'm saying whatever that is on the left, if it is equals to that which is on the right, and then I'm saying if the this.id number, if the ID number is bigger than the temp, and what is my temp? What is my object? This object is equals to the employee object. If this object is equals to the employee object, this is exactly what I'm saying here. I'm now running a test. If the this.id number, if the ID number it's bigger than the object ID number that is assigned here, what is it that I want to do? I would like to return A1. So by returning return value is equals to 1. So if the two objects that are being compared, they are equal, I want you to return A1. Else, if the this.id number it's now less than the temp dot ID number, what is it that I want to happen? I want the return value to be equals to -1. So that is to say the second object is bigger than the first object. Else, just return a 0. Return value is equals to 0. So if the return value is equals to 0, therefore I know that the two strings are equivalent. If it returns 1, the first object is bigger than the second object. Negative, the second one greater than the first. 0, they are exactly the same. Right. Now I want you to check what is happening here. Right. Let me do this. I know that the compare to method always returns an integer. So I will just return a value there and the error will just disappear. Very, very important. So I will just return a value. Okay. That is fine. That is very, very much fine. So that will be fine. Now, once that has been done, what is it that we can do? What is it that we can do once this is done? Once we have created this class, which is employee, and employee inherits from the iComparable, and then we have the coding as we have it there. So now what we can do, we can go to the main now. Right, let's go to the main, and I'm just going to get rid of all this. Right, and once we have got rid of all that, the first thing that I want to do inside of this class, I want to create an array of a certain number of employees. So I will have the class employee, and I want to create an array of employees and just call this employee array. And this will be equals to new employee, and I am assigning a value of 5 to that. I will accept 5 different employees. This is very, very important. So I am having an employee, I'm creating an employee array, which I will call the employee array, which is equals to 5 employees. Right, from there let's continue. The first thing that I want to do, I want to create a variable, and I will just call that an x. Then secondly, let me have a for loop that will run inside of these employees and assign whatever that needs to be assigned. All right, so the first thing that I will do, I will say x is equals to 0. All right, then x should be less than the employee array dot length. Very important. So it should be less than the length of the array. Okay, so I know because I'm starting at 0, it will run 5 times until to the 5th one. If I was starting at 1, I would have set less or equals to this. Right, and then as I continue with this, I will increment x by 1. Right, that is fine. I can have this, or I can just decide to get rid of them, just as we did in the previous tutorials that we have been working on. Now, once the loop is running, I want to now stand at the first position, at position 0, and what I want to do, I want to assign, I want to say the employee array, the object, the first object, it's equals to new employee. Right, but what I want to do, this is very important. So I want to say the first object at position 0 is equals to new employee. So what am I doing here? What am I doing there? All right, let's continue. And then employee, so I'm just reserving enough memory for the objects that I'm going to accept. This is exactly what I'm just doing there. All right, so I want to take the object, which is employee, and now this employee, remember, I'm sorry. So what am I doing here? Now I'm saying employee at a specific position, reserve memory for that employee. So what it will do, remember, it will run, it will be 0, and it will reserve memory for the employee at position 0, at position 1 due to the incrementation 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's exactly what it will do. Now I'm taking this object and I'm saying the employee at position 0 dot the ID number of the employee at position 0, allocate a value of maybe 333 for that employee. Right. And I can copy this and just paste this 5 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So employee at position 1, this will be at position 2, and this will be at position 3, and this will be at position 4. So I have a total of 5 employees. Right. So this one, maybe let's make it 444, and this one let's just make it 555, and this employee 555, and this employee 666, and this employee will be 222. Right, that's fine. That is fine. Okay, now this is what I have assigned values to every object that for every different employee object that I have. So I have assigned them ID numbers. So when I say int x, this is the variable that will do what now? The employee array at every position. At position 0, employee 1 holds that value. At position 1, that value 2, 3. So it will just do that and reserve memory allocation for every employee. That's the work of the first line, this one. Okay, that is fine. Once that has been done, now I just want you to check here. I'm not using let me show you. I'm not using the salary to compare. I'm just using the ID number. So I have ID number and salary, but I'm not using the salary. I'm just using the ID number. So please be very careful of that. Right. So I want to say the employee, which is the name of the class, and now create another object which I will call seek employee, and this will be equals to, so this is employee, seek employee equals new employee. All right, so what am I doing here? I am creating another object of the employee. Very good. Now all I want to do there is to say seek employee dot ID number, and I just want to say the ID number, for example, let me make it quite identical to the second employee, which is 444. All right, that is fine. And then I want to sort first the array dot sort. I want to sort these numbers in the order of increasing values. So, and inside of the brackets, remember we send in the employee array. I'm sending in the object. Sorry. So what is it that I am sorting here? I am sorting these elements. Very important. Employee array, this is exactly what I am sorting. So this will just sort the values here using the array dot sort. All right, that is fine. We have dealt with this in second semester, first year. We dealt with the array dot sort method. Right, and then what I want to do, once they have been sorted, I just want to have a right line, and in this, let me just take this off and just do this. All right, and then in this right line that I want, the first thing that I will do in this right line, I will just say these are sorted employees, so just say sorted employees. That's all what I want to do. Okay, let me just get rid of this. Right, so it will just display, it will just say sorted employees as a heading. And then now let's run a for loop in order to show us the sorted array of these objects. So the very first thing I will do in order to access those objects is to use a for loop. So I will start at x equals 0. That is why I declared this x outside. I didn't say int x equals 0 here because I knew that I had to override it when I arrive here. So very important that we note this. Right. X equals to 0. X must be less than the employee object dot length. Very important. And then I will increment x by 1. All right, and then once that has been done, the second thing that I want to do is to now have a write line that will be able to display these employees. So I will just say employee hashtag at position 0, use a colon 1 some space 2, and then after that, what is it that I want in position 0, 1 and 2? The first thing that I need there is to have an x. So the x will be responsible for saying employee 1, employee 2, 3 and so on. And then after that, I will take the employee, I will take the object, and then this object at a specific position. Okay, and then lastly, what I will do, I will just display the salary of this employee. No, let me just display the ID number of this employee. So now remember, we set x at 0 and then we set employee array at that specific position, and now let's just take the ID number. Let's just take the ID number. Let's just take the ID number. Where is it now? ID number. Is it public? Let's just go and check. Yes, it's public, and I had it there. So let me check what is happening here. I have a write line employee at position 0, 1, 2. So I have my x, comma, employee at a specific position, comma, okay. And let me just say employee array dot id. Let me just say employee array okay, let me do this. Let me say employee array at the specific position dot ID number. Yes, let me just do it in this way. Right, is that all? No, this is the first one, this is the second one. I still need a comma there. And then what is it that I want to show now? Now I want to say the employee array at a specific position dot, and now I want the salary dot to string with some currency symbol assigned there. So let me just do this. All right, now let's try to see what is happening. So we know that this one will sort, so I'm running through a for loop that will be able to show these values for me the way in which I want them to be shown. So the very first thing that it will do, it will go to the right line, employee number, this because it's employee number, it will show the number. At position 1 it will say this is employee 1, remember, and then employee at a specific X. So in other words, it will say employee maybe number 50, and then it will say let me just check very quickly. So we will have employee at position 0, okay, employee at position 0, and then it will go to the next line 1 2 3 4 5. All right, so at position 1 there seems to be some error there. Let me just do this. Very good. So at position 1, what is it that I want? I want the ID number, so it will show the ID number, create some space, and then it will show the salary of this individual. So this is exactly what will happen. Nothing new about this, we already know that, right? Once that for loop has run and the console.writeLine has been displayed, now I want to do something. I want to say the X, which returns an integer. Remember, now I want to say the X is equals to the array dot. Now I want to run a binary search now. Array.binary search, and I want to pass in what inside of the binary search. Now I want to pass in the employee object followed by what now? Followed by the seek employee. So it will seek this employee. So these are the two things that I assign, because remember the binary search, let me do this. Remember the binary search accepts 2 arguments. So it will accept an object, and then secondly it will accept the employee array. This is the object, and then secondly it will accept now a seek. What is a seek now? Seek is also an object, but I know that what does it seek now? Seek.id number equals 444. So this object goes inside of the IDs in here and seeks for a value of 444 if it will be found there. That's exactly how the binary search works. So it accepts an argument of objects. Secondly, it accepts an int that it has to go and search inside of these objects. This is exactly what the binary search will do. Once it has done that, the binary search, that is fine. What is it that I want to do? I want to just have a write line, and in this write line I just want to say employee hashtag employee 0 was found at position, and then it will tell me the position where it was found. So employee, I want to say seek employee dot id number. Very good. And then secondly, I want you to return the value where this employee was found. So I know that the seek.employee, the value, so it will say employee 444 was found at a specific position inside of your array of objects. So if this will work, let's see if it will. Let's just try to run this and see if it will work. And let me just do this so that we can explain what is happening here. Right, remember we did not assign any values to the salaries, so they will be having the default values of 0. So the first thing that we do, we display this right line, sorted employees. There it is. Are the employees sorted? Yes, in the order of increasing integer values. That's fine. And the prices have been displayed for us. Which one is that? It's this right line. There it is. And for every time it displays one employee, it goes to a new line and display the second employee and so on, because you have a right line here. That's fine. And then it goes to this one now. Employee 444 was found at position 2, 0, 1, 2. And there it is. So thanks for watching the tutorial. I'll see you in the next tutorial.